I'm joined by former UKIP leader Nigel Farage in Strasbourg, and thank you very much for hanging on, Nigel Farage. I know we've kept you waiting. And the People's Vote campaigner Alastair Campbell is with me here out on the green in Westminster. Nigel Farage, if we track back in history, you are the agent of where we are now. Your allies in the Tory party have tried to behead the Prime Minister, and of course a Brexit deal you don't like is in trouble in the Commons. Pleased with your handiwork?
Well, it would be nice, wouldn't it, if the Prime Minister just simply kept her promises. I mean, this isn't just about the referendum, you know, that people voted in. It's also about a general election in which she could not have been clearer. In her manifesto, we weren't just leaving the European Union, we were leaving the single market and the customs union too. She's the one that actually has betrayed voters who put their trust in her. This deal is a terrible deal. It's the worst deal in history, and ever since she agreed to the backstop, to think that we're going to go into something that we can't unilaterally get out of, I think the Eurosceptics in the Tory party had to try to get rid of her, but it's pretty clear to me they've failed.
Alastair Campbell?
Well, I mean, I don't agree with Nigel about much, but what I do agree with is that this is a terrible deal, and that's why she's in the mess that she's in. And don't forget that the reason for that is the combination of the Good Friday Agreement, which was delivered when you had governments, Tory and Labour, that were competent and strong and stable and knew how to negotiate, allied to the red lines that she put down, partly to appeal to people like Nigel Farage and Jacob Rees-Mogg and Boris Johnson and the rest of them. The combination of that led to the fact, the necessity from the Europeans' perspective, rightly in my view, of the backstop. Now, in there now, she probably will get through it, but the problems that have been created by this process, they are not going away, and it's why I do believe this eventually is going to go back to another referendum.
You tell us, Nigel Farage, how you see Brexit getting through now, given that even the Brexit that she was suggesting to Parliament couldn't even face a vote.
Well, I mean, tomorrow there's a summit in Brussels. I'll be there. I'm as certain as I can be, talking to group leaders here in Strasbourg today, there will be no significant concessions of any kind at all. So she comes back from Brussels with virtually nothing, perhaps a codicil that'll be added to the withdrawal agreement. My guess is she won't put it to Parliament next week. This will run into the new year. I don't see any way this deal gets through Parliament, and then we're going to face at some point, maybe towards the end of next month, a very big moment of what happens. Do we carry on, given the legislation that we've got, and just leave on March the 29th on World Trade Organization rules, which I haven't got a problem with, but I'm not convinced. I mean, particularly given that the Chancellor today called Eurosceptics extremists. So I think, and by the way, I don't want this, but I think we're headed towards a moment where we may well see a big push for Article 50 to be extended.
Article 50 to be extended or conceivably remain?
Well, I'm pleased that Nigel recognises I think we are heading to Article 50 being extended, and I think the European Union will only go for that if they understand that there is a process towards a different course. They're not going to do it just to let the Tory party carry on squabbling amongst themselves. And I also think from Nigel's perspective, I actually think the vision of Brexit that he has, he's not going to get it through Theresa May, so actually I think that Nigel's side of the argument should be out for a people's vote as well. This thing has got to go back to the people at some stage. The country is not uniting around any vision of Brexit, and it's got to go back to the people.
Nigel Farage. People's vote?
Well, there's one slight problem there, Alastair, and it's this. Well, hang on. There's one slight problem here, that with the last referendum, we were told explicitly that this was our decision and it would be implemented. That was then backed up in a general election, 85% of people voting for parties that wanted to leave. And Alastair, the idea that we have a second referendum, why wouldn't you simply ignore that referendum the way you have the first one?
The whole problem with this, though, Nigel, is you did not have a plan. You and your people fought for this Brexit for years and years and years and years.
We voted to leave.
Yes, but you didn't have a plan for what that means. And the government has tried to make sense of it, and they've not been able to do so. And I also think that the country's not united after the first referendum. I think if there is another one, all the people who are involved in it, people like you, all the leaders of the parties, all the leaders of the campaigns, you just have to say, whatever the outcome now, this is it. last chance, we go out there, but you have to come up with a credible, deliverable Brexit plan to put against Remain. And you haven't got one, Nigel. That's your problem.
The credible, deliverable Brexit plan is the one I fought for 25 years, which is a simple free trade agreement. And yes, assurances on both sides of the Irish border. This Prime Minister didn't even try for a free trade agreement. She tried, ever since that Florence speech, to get us back wrapped in to as much of the European Union as she possibly could. I repeat the point. This is now a matter of trust, and we have far too many people in our political, media and business classes willfully disregarding the greatest democratic exercise in the history of our nation. And to ask us to do it again because you don't accept the result fills me with no confidence that when Leave wins a second referendum, as it would by a bigger margin, that you would change your position one iota.
Well, if you're so confident, why not go for it? And I don't think you are confident, because I think actually you do.
Because you'd ignore it.
No, it's not down to me. And also, you talk about this being some kind of elite.
You'd ignore it.
This would be about
You're not
the
a Democrat.
people. This would be about the people saying whether the mess that you've helped create is what they want to proceed with. And they don't, Nigel, and you probably deep down you know it.
We had this last time. No, I don't agree with that at all. In fact, actually what I'm seeing is a lot of people out there so disgusted by this whole process, so disgusted by our political class that they would vote to leave again. I think in much bigger numbers.
This thing about you not being the
that is
political
not
class.
the point. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. You cannot lie to the people on this scale. You simply don't accept the democratic will of the British people, and that of itself is a disgrace.
It's 903 days since the referendum. We've had an election since then. We've got a Conservative Party in turmoil, and you still have not been able to put forward a plan that in paper we can all read and say that's how Brexit would work. You haven't done it, Nigel.
Alastair, I want us to be an independent countries. And independent countries
so do I. That's
make
what
their
we
own
are.
laws, control their own borders, choose their own friends around the world. That is what the Brexit vote was about. Us being a free, independent
we haven't got any
country,
friends around the world.
Not governed by a bunch of old men in Brussels. And the one point of agreement is that Mrs May is messing this argument up from both sides by trying to please everybody, and in the end, pleasing absolutely nobody.
But that's why I'm saying, if you're confident and if they're screwing up to the extent that they are, you get behind another referendum and let's see what people really think. Because let's be honest, Nigel, nobody voted for this chaos.
And the third one as well. And the third referendum, and the fourth referendum. You will never accept a democratic result against this set of institutions. You will never accept it. You didn't last time. Why should we believe you?
Why should we believe you?
Well, sorry, I thought John's opted out of this debate because I've explained to you, Nigel, the difference between the Brexit that you promised, the Brexit that Boris Johnson promised, they're all different, and now people know.
Brexit is Brexit.
Now people know. Brexit is Brexit means nothing. Theresa May's found that. You have not explained to the country how your Brexit would actually work and how it wouldn't make people poorer and make this country weaker. And the reason for that is because you know
it's the Brexit, Alastair, we all agreed on. It's the Brexit you agreed on. It's the Brexit we all agreed on. It's the Brexit that it's the Brexit. It's the Brexit.
Go and write a
out of the
draft
single
treaty.
market,
Nigel Farage,
out of the European Union.
Alastair
Every single major player.
Nigel Farage, Alastair Campbell, thank you both. The argument lives on. Very grateful to both of you.